Merci bien. Messieurs, Mesdames, je regrette que je ne parle français bien, so I will have to speak to you in English. It's very sad that I don't speak French better because I love your country, and I had many French acquaintances in my youth who improved my French, but that was all now a very long time ago. I sit in our House of Lords, where probably about 95% of the members are all Remainers. We are an isolated minority, those of us who speak about leaving the EU. They were traumatized when the referendum result came through. And they are rather unique because we are all appointed. None of us have been elected to the House of Lords by a popular mandate. So to hear my colleagues in the House of Lords going around saying, oh, these people, they got it all wrong, they didn't understand the issues, and so forth, is really pretty depressing and hasn't done our House any good either. But I would like to just dwell with you on how you move from here to having a referendum in France. There are, I think, lessons that can be learned from what happened in the United Kingdom. As usual, the elites do not like referendum. And the good news for France is that I have it on very good authority that if a referendum was held in France on whether to leave the EU or stay in it, you would vote to leave. You may ask, on what authority do I have that information? It came from your President Macron, who I think about a year ago now said that if a referendum was held in France, France would vote to leave. And of course what that means is I will not hold a referendum. So the question you have to ask yourselves is how do you get from where you are today to holding a referendum in France which you will win? And there are a few lessons here from the United Kingdom. David Cameron was our Prime Minister, and he came under enormous threat from Nigel Farage, who was at that stage leading the UKIP party. And many of his members of parliament came to him and said, if we don't promise a referendum in our manifesto, we are all going to lose our seats. So under that pressure, David Cameron gave way, very reluctantly, I think, and he put the commitment to a referendum in our manifesto. I actually think at the time, he was in coalition with the Liberal Democrats, and I don't think he ever dreamt that he was going to get an overall majority in the election. I think he thought he was going to go back into coalition with the Liberal Democrats. He would say to their leader, Nick Clegg, let's go back into another coalition, and will you make it one of your conditions that we do not hold this referendum to which we're committed in our manifesto. So what you've got to do, and bear in mind that under our first-past-the-post system, UKIP has never won a single seat in Parliament in an election. One or two people have gone over, but nobody has actually ever won an election in a general election for UKIP. So they had massive influence over what happened in this country as a small party operating on the basis that the United Kingdom wanted to leave the EU. So just put that into your minds as to how you move from here. You've got to get yourselves into a position where you are a threat to the major parties. And then when it comes to the election, to the referendum, you will find at that stage that the establishment wheels out the most amazing statistics you have ever heard in the whole of your life. We were told that unemployment on the day, practically a few days after we left the EU, would go up by half a million people. Actually, unemployment has come down since then by 750,000. We were told that there would be such enormous pressure on sterling in the markets that the Bank of England would have to raise interest rates to such a high level that people wouldn't be able to repay their mortgages and house prices would fall by 30%. What actually happened is the Bank of England lowered the interest rate, and house prices have continued to go up ever since referendum day. So when you come to fight your referendum, be very wary. The whole establishment will wheel out with scare stories saying that the end of the world is at hand if you actually dare leave the EU. The problem that the Remain campaign had is they could not create a good narrative for staying in the EU. So therefore they had to resort to scare tactics to say how awful it would be if we came out, and they did not happen. Then your troubles are only half over when you've won the referendum, because you then have to negotiate with the EU. And it's a very good idea at that stage if the negotiations are not led by Theresa May. Welcome, Kate. There are some golden rules about negotiation. The first is that you do not let the opposition set the agenda. And you do not start discussing how much money you're going to pay to the EU before you've decided what the terms are under which you're leaving. And you have to be very, very tough and be prepared to walk away if you think that the demands being made of you are unreasonable. She has done none of those things, and that is one of the reasons why we're in the mess that we are today. But bear in mind, if your president thinks that the majority of the French people want to leave the EU, it must be only a matter of time before that happens.